This is Infection, the survival podcast, recorded live on Tuesday, July 13th, 2021, episode 339. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I'm over here choking on the swig of tea I had before the show. This is Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. We bring you the latest... Hold on a second. Brian, what is going on with your camera here, my guy? There's a box floating around. Now you're muted. I can't even hear you. What's going on? I'm trying to do my focus. I'm trying to do my opening, and all of a sudden I see this boxes
I don't know why it's
flying
going
around.
on the screen. Usually I could touch the touchscreen on my camera to set a focus point. And so I did that, and all of a sudden it puts a box around my face. It's like normally it only shows it on the touchscreen, but it's showing it on the regular screen too. So
this is way off the rails.
There's no autofocus happening right now.
339.
We can turn it on really quick.
So I'm trying to do the intro, and all of a sudden I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah,
that's all I see. I'm like, what is happening?
How in the world do I get it? I mean, if everybody wants to see where exactly the autofocus is handling on my camera at the time, this is perfect.
I was very distracted.
I was like, this is the first time I've ever seen this. And you saw me like, what do I click? What do I even do on this camera to turn that off?
It looks so stupid. It looks like a strike zone.
Yeah, it's like, that's the focus point. So if I tap on the screen here, I can set... I want my water bottle. I think this is going to be a good show.
All right, hold on.
Yeah, so you can see.
All right,
wait. Oh, it's back. No, I got to close the screen because I don't know if it.
All right. Well, this is episode 339 of Infection, the Survival Podcast. You couldn't tell by listening. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on various social media platforms at Nicholas M. Craig. Also, you can visit my website, nickcraig.com, where you can listen to the radio program each and every morning over at 980 The Wave. All right. Joining me. No boxes on his face anymore. Brian.
I think they're gone now.
Brian with an eye Aldrich. Wow, what an opening. Unbelievable. You'd think, it's not like it's only been...
We're just about 340 shows in.
6 years, 7 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like we know we're professionals.
Yeah. It's cam lock, but we'll figure it out before next week's show. Now, 30 seconds before the show airs, all of a sudden something new pops up. That's the best thing that could ever happen.
Well,
but
and I'm over here choking to death on this tea. I was like, the intro's playing. Let me take a sip. I sip it. It's just like, why am I even bothering? Like, why are we even here? Yeah,
I know. It's those Windows updates.
Jesus.
It's that Windows 11 update I did.
Yeah,
hey, if you want to find me at Brian Aldridge on Gab or Parler, or if you want to check out my blog, biteoftech.com. But also, you need to go check out our website and go to infectionpodcast.com. And on there, you'll see on the right-hand side, it has a joiner server on Discord. And if you do that, you can submit news topics throughout the week. You can hang out, play some Ark. We have a big community of people playing Ark on a regular basis. We got some different hangout channels where people chat about various things. So if you're interested in that, join our Discord server. It's free. We don't ask anything special of you to be able to do that. And then we have our Steam group, which when Steam's not down during our show, you actually get a notification to join us live. I mean, we did pick probably the worst day, the one Steam hour window of when we do our show. But hey, we got this. And then we also have our podcast extras. If you want to get the pre and post show, we've got a lot of those. Not all of them are up there, but some to kind of give you an idea of what we do for the show on a regular basis. And then we have all of our different video forms. So Twitch, YouTube, DLive, BitChute. Those are all ways that you can watch live or recordings after the fact. And then our audio-only forms on the lower right. So if you want to do that, there's a lot of different platforms, whether it's mobile, web-based, anything is down there. A lot of different ways you can listen. If you are listening, you might want to follow along with the show notes. And if you do that, just click on the particular episode that you're listening to, and you'll see a video player, an audio player, and all the different links that we refer to throughout the show. So if you're really wanting to maybe listen but see the videos, just pull up this page. When we start playing one of those videos, play it in maybe on your phone or something like that, and you can follow along even if you're out on the road. And then if you want to support us, you can go to infectionpodcast.com/support. And then we also have Humble, we have Amazon, we've got Subscribe Star, we've got all kinds of different ways that you can Prime Gaming subs, a lot of different ways you can support the show. And if you're interested in that, just go to infectionpodcast.com/support.
Yes, sir. Do want to just make a quick note about it. Our trip that we've been talking about is officially in the books. So if you'd like to head out to Las Vegas, or Lost Wages, as it's known, Nevada, we're going the 16th through the 19th. Just direct message Brian or myself on Discord, and we'll get you thrown in the group with all the details. My flights are booked. We've got an Airbnb booked. So
I'll probably book my flights tomorrow or something. So
time off from work. Our good friend, I don't want to dox him, Tag Durante will also be there. I've got the goal to pronounce his name by the end of our Vegas trip. So looking forward to that, middle September, meeting up with the crew. I do want to note yet one more time, we're not spending any of the Infection podcast bucks for this, because this
is all personal funds.
Yes. So just put that out there.
Yep. So so people say, hey, are we paying for this? Actually, we haven't touched those funds since PAX of 2 years ago
2019.
Now?
Yeah. So it's been rocking.
It's been growing. We're gonna have an awesome PAX trip when we do go, or wherever we go.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, they could just pay for it. We could go to that one over in Germany or whatever, and they'd just pay for the flight tickets.
Oh, I was going to say we should just pay for the Vegas Airbnb, but never mind. We're not going to do that. So, all right. So with that aside, again, you could just send us a message on Discord. We won't lament on it here too much. All right, Brian, we don't have a whole hell of a lot of actual game news this week, which is not.
Yeah, it's been kind of a weird. There's not been a ton of stuff. I mean, there's a few games with some things in it, a few follow-ups of things that we've discussed, legal matters happening. But one big thing, I don't know, do you have a preference? Do you mind if we just jump into what I think is probably one of the biggest pieces of news and a little bit of an answer to some of the things that we've been kind of wondering coming out of Amazon? Their new game studio, they've got that. We've been wondering, they bought a version of what's the game
Crytek.
engine? CryEngine. Yeah, Crytek, CryEngine. And they bought one version out, and then all of a sudden the company that, Crytek, then released a whole new version the next day. So like they worked out a contract where they were pretty much buying the existing version as is, and then they released a whole new, much updated version that Amazon didn't get. And I was kind of wondering, are they going to fix CryEngine? Well, here is the answer. Came out of kind of nowhere, but they've changed the name. Before it was called Lumberyard.
Yes.
And now it's called Open 3D Engine. And this is a totally open source engine. That means there's no fees for using it. It's a AAA level because they took CryEngine and they redid it. I assume they bought CryEngine for some of the technology in it. They like the shaders, whatever it is. But they've pretty much reworked the whole thing. And I there's some videos. There's a couple minute video. I think of maybe up to a 5-minute video, but it's very informative. Now, these Amazon guys, they actually brought engineers to do the speaking. They're pretty laid back. You can tell they're programmers.
They're bros.
What you yeah. I mean, I understand these guys, but so I'm sorry that they don't talk fast and there's not like crazy flying action, but they do talk a lot about what's going on with this new engine. So let's go ahead and play that, and then we can follow up with some of the features and things that this might affect going forward.
Welcome to the Open 3D Engine YouTube channel.
I'm
Alex Martin, the technical trainer with the AWS Game Tech team.
I tried to warn you. Like, they could have got this done in half the time.
About the
show's over. Sorry, we gotta go.
And this left you with a few unanswered questions. Well, look no further. In this video, we're going to take a look at what exactly the Open 3D Engine is and at some of its many features. Now, a quick disclaimer before we begin. Due to the open source nature of O3DE, the O3D community is constantly making improvements. So check the description below for any updates. So what exactly is O3D? It's a multi-platform 3D development engine that brings together both integrated and external 3D authoring tools like Maya, Blender, ZBrush, the Substance Suite, and countless others. This enables users to build AAA games, cinema quality 3D worlds for video production, and high fidelity simulations. Another incredible benefit of using O3DE is that the user pays zero licensing fees. Open 3D Engine consists of a robust set of features, for instance gems. which are modules that contain libraries with standard interfaces and assets. Each system in O3DE is provided by its own gem, and you can pick and choose what functionality to add based on your requirements. You can also customize O3DE or replace functionality entirely with your own gems. In future videos, we'll cover gems in much more depth.
So on here, the one thing that's pretty big about this is they've modularized the engine. A lot of things that can be either big size-wise or resource-wise, they've totally modularized it to where you can enable or disable. That includes like multiplayer. You enable or disable multiplayer. One thing I will say, Unreal Engine doesn't have a way to really do this. There are some features that you can enable and disable. They're more of the kind of testing features sometimes, or ones for specific products, but not down to this level. So if you're looking to make a very small, for instance, maybe a mobile game, and you don't want to have, you want it to be as small as possible, this would really allow you to kind of pick the features that you want, leave everything
Unity
out.
has this, some sort of similar
thing. They probably have something similar to this. And Unreal Engine has a little bit of this, but not to the point of where you can really take out a ton of features to make it much, much smaller. I mean, you have to manually do it if you're going to do
it. When I first heard that, so this is not the blueprint system that Unreal has for building things. This is just for controlling, essentially,
what features are available.
So similar to if you've ever used Microsoft Visual Studio, when you use that, you can turn on different C#, C+, all of those different what it will do.
Give it the ability.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so let's say you maybe there, and you could turn on. Let's say you had no sound in your game. I'm assuming maybe to the level even to disabling the sound, so that no code for sound is in there, right? So to shrink it down.
Not hypothetically, but in practicality here, if you're making a small game, you can make the game as physically small as possible because you can just turn off all the unneeded assets that aren't wasting space in the final release.
Even if you bundle an Unreal Engine game. That's a small game. The base project has a certain size just because of all the code that they throw in there to support all the things you could do, right?
Interesting.
Not what you are doing. Yeah. Well, okay, think of it to this next level though. And PH is kind of, I think, getting there. When you modularize the whole thing, if you want to upgrade, let's say you want to take the sound system, you want to upgrade that. It's so modular that there are kind of set pathways in and out of that. They treat. I'm assuming they're treating it kind of like an API, which makes it to where the other piece of the product doesn't see all the innards and the bell, the things that make it happen. They just see the pathways, the doorways going in and out, and that's all they can have access to.
One other thing I could see here, the fact that it's open source. Let's say somebody comes in and builds a better audio engine than what they've got built in by default. They can put it on GitHub, and then you can put it in your.
You can add it to your feature. So one thing, you could do total module replacements of features. Let's say a company wanted to take this, being that it's open source. Here's a totally legitimate, real situation that could happen. Okay. They come in, they say, we don't like the way that this engine renders. Let's say, kind of like CryEngine has that certain look. Unreal Engine has that certain look. Unity has that certain look where you can look at the game and a lot of them you can kind of see, okay, that is that engine. If you didn't like that, then you could take out and say, I'm going to rewrite or redo this whole piece of the renderer. As long as that's a modular piece, let's say. I'm assuming because I haven't looked that close to, really look at that detail. But you could then rewrite it, drop it in place as a module, enable it, and as long as you have all the things that communicate in and out of it hooked up and able to handle, everything from all the other pieces, you could remake your whole thing and have your own look and your own custom renderer. And it's open source. So, you're totally in your rights to be able to do that. There's no licensing to worry about. And then if you wanted to give it back to the community, you could. You could turn around and say, hey, this, I'm giving back to the community. I think the biggest part of it is they can upgrade pieces and then you can update. Let's say you can update your sound engine separately from maybe the video render. So let's say there's a bug in one piece and you find that if you upgrade the newest version, it causes a bug, but you want to upgrade other pieces. This would hypothetically give the ability for them to modularly upgrade their game engine in their game, upgrade pieces of it. I mean, it's a pretty cool concept.
Upgrading game engines, jumping to the next version of a game engine for developers has always been a big issue, especially when features get deprecated and various things. So this could potentially, and for example, let's say that they decide to deprecate a feature. Well, some guy comes along, builds the equivalent feature
to continue that support
as a modular thing. maintain it, you're good to go. This is
Yeah,
very interesting.
and so it takes off the table, because right now, look at the issues we run into from things being deprecated. The biggest issue we run into, for instance, on Unreal Engine, you don't want to stay on really old versions of the engine. First of all, you're not getting the latest features. You're missing, they've done so much stuff in the last 3-4 major revisions of Unreal Engine that if you're keeping back 3 or 4 versions, you're missing out on a lot of cool stuff. This makes it to where that's not as much of an issue, because if you wanted to, you could rewrite one piece, or keep it the same version and update it internally. It's open source. You have total access to the source code, to where you can fix bugs, and then you could upgrade the rest of it like normal. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of cool things that you could do in this. How it's going to perform will be the big test, but it's fully Linux, mobile. I mean, it does all the different devices, so the visuals of it look pretty good. I mean, it's still in its early ages, but it's Apache 2.0 license. So you have full rights to use it, and there should be nothing they can do to revoke it. Okay. Even with, version upgrades and licensing changes.
You want to jump back to the video?
Yeah, let's go and go back to the video. I just wanted to point that out, because I think most people kind of missed what that was and what really meant for it. So go ahead.
Another incredible feature is Atom, O3DE's physically based renderer. Atom is a cross-platform, modular, data-driven, and multi-threaded renderer that can be extended for a wide variety of visual and performance needs. Some of Atom's features include support for forward and deferred rendering, modular framework that allows for multiple rendering paths, DirectX 12, Vulkan, and Metal Graphics API support. It's optimized for cluster forward and shading models with discrete passes that give you control over Atom's final output, global illumination, ray tracing, support for parallax correction, and the Amazon shader language, a flexible extension of HLSL that allows you to write your own shaders in a familiar syntax. Overall, there's no limitations on customizable render passes. In O3DE, you can create runtime logic and functionality visually with Script Canvas or program with Lua. With Script Canvas, scripts are created as flow graphs by placing and connecting functionality.
This is like blueprints. So this is the blueprints piece.
No programming required. Script Canvas allows you to experiment and iterate quickly and provides an easy entry point to new developers. With Lua, O3DE provides a traditional script model and the ability to use the editor of your choice. You don't have to choose.
This is a very common language, by the way.
You can use both Script Canvas and Lua in your projects and even within scripted entities. O3DE provides support for a suite of industry-standard physics solutions that you can use to add realism to your actors and environments and to visualize simulations. O3DE provides support for the following simulation SDKs: NVIDIA PhysX for creating static and dynamic rigid bodies, dynamic joints, and forces such as wind and gravity. NVIDIA Cloth, creating clothing and fabrics that realistically react to animated entities and physical forces. NVIDIA Blast for creating dynamic destruction and multiple layers of fracturing and user-defined vector and stress damage limits. These physics solutions can be added as attributes to simple or complex entities. These entities can be created, shared, reused, and dynamically spawned with O3DE's prefab system. O3DE's prefab system includes the following features: reusable assets with complete properties, components, and hierarchies. Prefabs use a human-readable text format, so you can use standard source control tools to view diffs and merge changes. Prefabs can be placed and managed dynamically.
Now that's a big deal. That's a big deal because that's very difficult to do correctly in Unreal Engine with the way that they do it.
Say it one more time.
Okay, so what you can do is you can use so when you're submitting changes to code as a programmer, when you make a change to code, you're possibly making changes to similar, some areas of code as other people are. So they have a way that you can submit code changes to where it tries to work it into the existing way the code looks, right? So you could submit a change that you made, and then it will merge it, hopefully without any errors, into the main code base, right? The main set of code. So they're saying with this scripting language, you have the ability to still use it with those versioning systems, which
Gotcha.
I haven't been able to get Unreal Engine without using some, special project or products with it to do that correctly. You're more just uploading things. It's not doing versioning of your blueprints code in the same way like this one says it. If that's what I correctly heard from them, saying that you had the ability to do versioning with the scripting system, that would be a big deal, because you could then see with the scripts the change logs, of what changed. Where with blueprints, it just sees it as a file. A file was uploaded, a file was replaced. It doesn't see the actual changes smartly.
Accompanying prefabs is another exciting tool that will allow you to build levels quickly. With O3DE's Whitebox gem, you can sculpt and manipulate geometric volumes quickly to get your world sketched out in Engine. This will allow you to build both finalized assets as well as rapidly prototype entire worlds for your team. These are just some of the features O3DE offers, so stay tuned for future videos where we're going to explore much more O3D related content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.
So a new player in the engine space, Brian, now as a maybe an indie developer, you'll have the choice between the very popular Unreal Engine, the popular Unity engine, or now Amazon's Open 3D engine, which is the first open source mainstream, AAA engine. There are other open source engines, but none of them are to this level. Let me ask you this though. I mean, would Amazon not have been better off just building this thing from the ground up? I mean, I can't imagine how much they spent on the Crytek engine.
I've actually thought about this.
How many years went by, and now here we are with a brand new engine. They could have probably just built this from scratch and called it a day.
Okay, so here's where when I kind of heard this news earlier and I was looking at it, I was thinking the exact same thing. Why would they make what seemed like such a drastic change? Maybe the whole time their whole goal was just to rewrite the whole engine, or maybe they got CryEngine and realized, first of all, the networking code sucks. They're going to have to rewrite everything anyways. If you're going to rewrite half of it anyways, why don't you just make it how you would want it? I mean, possibly there's some good code. I was curious, can you open up or import a CryEngine project into this? Because it was based on CryEngine. Has it changed so much? I was just, is there a way to bring a CryEngine project into this engine? Because that would be cool for the people that have the old version of CryEngine that haven't switched over to the new one, because that can be for older games, that could be a big ordeal trying to switch to a new release of an engine. It might be just as much work for them to move it over to this if there's some of those maintained. I with how much they reworked it though, I have a feeling that it's pretty much on its own now, that it's no longer like a CryEngine thing.
So my other thing here, and for people to understand this and understand the whole thing here, I believe Amazon's original goal with this was to the engine itself was free, Lumberyard, and they would make their money on the multiplayer side of it. Lumberyard would only multiplayer support or server support for Lumberyard would have been through Amazon's AWS cloud. That was the original goal. I don't know what, I would assume that this is an open 3D and this is a completely open engine that they're not going to have that.
Limit that.
They're not going to have, and they don't have a way to. So then,
with the Apache license, they have, the only thing they can say is you cannot sell this engine. You can sell the game, right? The result that was exported out of the engine, but you can't turn around and rewrite this engine and sell it. You can't put a new interface on it and try to sell it for money. That's where their limitation is. But really, there won't be any fees or obligations by the end company. What I'm more curious of, will this get like a marketplace support? Will there be a place where people can make those modules and submit them to a marketplace like the audio engine? Like that would be a step up. I mean, look at Unreal Engine. You can't modify the engine and sell the modified version in the marketplace. This right here sounds like that would be a possibility. Someone could sell a module that's an upgraded sound engine for this, or it'll be interesting to see where it goes, because it's so new. It's in developer preview right now, and you can fork it on GitHub and mess with it. But there's not all those things in place. With how they're talking, they're kind of talking like this is already in place. The videos, because they're expecting it to be in place, but there's not a market. There's not all these developers doing all these things yet. It's right now. It's Amazon making these things in association with. So Adobe is working with us on them. with them on this, and then Hawaii, is it Huawei? Huawei, isn't that how it is? Huawei, that's it. Sorry, I was trying to get the pronunciation right. Huawei, and then Intel and Niantic. But China, PH points out, my biggest concern is that Huawei, can't they not even sell a phone here anymore? Like one of these places, like because of stuff they were doing underhanded, they can't even sell a phone here. So there is some China influence in this when Huawei comes in, but there's a lot of American companies as well. And so we'll just see where it goes. I'm not quite sure 100% yet. There's a YouTube channel that has a lot of videos if you're interested in kind of digging into more about the particular details. They've got a whole playlist of videos here talking about like script canvas, which is that visual language, the editor, a tour of the editor, networking overview, which is the big limitation previously on CryEngine that they would have reworked and revamped and made totally new here. AWS Gems, which I think those are
Gems is the modular
piece,
part.
yeah, so that you can have it automatically like store files in AWS, which is in the web services or the compute cloud or all the things they do. Their special render, they have a video on that. Creating projects from command line, so you can generate, I guess, a project. Setting it up from GitHub, and then a developer overview. So those are the current videos that they have right now. That's they released those 1 week ago or within the last week, and then we'll see where it goes from here. There are some articles that talks about some of the various companies. There's a list of features. I don't know if we could double check to make sure there's no features we missed. But yeah, so there's 20 something companies. There's some videos showing kind of like things rendered in it in some of our links. Be very interesting. This is kind of, no more lumberyard as we know it. And this is going to be the next step.
Cool. Well, there's a bunch of links and videos and whatnot in our show notes. You can find this embedded in the episode 339 episode of Infection Podcast on our website, infectionpodcast.com. All right, Brian, we're about halfway through the show here. So where do we go from here in terms of show note wise?
All right. So one thing, so politically, I'm going to mention something that's a little political, but it's more of a thing that I think would be interest to our listeners. So Biden just signed an executive order to restore net neutrality. And for those who don't know, one of the big things that they bring up as an example of net neutrality is, do you want your cable provider charging you for Netflix? Charging you a separate fee to be able to maybe get priority traffic on Netflix. I can promise you there's some people that probably would say yes, because there's people with 4K TVs, eventually get to 8K TVs. There'll be no way to buffer that, in some situations. But other people say, well, I want to have it to where everything's totally free and open and nothing can be charged or limited on my internet. I try not to really take I see the sides of both of it. I see the arguments, so I kind of stay out of this one because I think both can be bad in certain ways. But that's going to be happening with Trump. He signed an executive order reversing it. You've seen the internet here for however many years now with net neutrality not in place. Let's give it a couple of years with net neutrality in place and see if you think we're in a better place. That's all I can say. I mean, that's pretty much, with everything. This is we'll see what they do with it. I didn't see a real big difference when he made it go away. I mean, I don't think anyone's, but we will see. We'll see what happens.
There's been very little on both sides of, there's a higher level conversation, but for the most part, even with net neutrality in place, then it being repealed, now it potentially going back into place, not a whole lot has changed for the end user thus far. But it is an interesting thing to note, no question about it.
Yeah, I want to make sure people are aware. If you see any articles coming up, there was a big hullabaloo when he signed the executive order. Of course, it was Trump, so they had to make a big hullabaloo about everything.
Of course.
But there was a big hullabaloo at the time of how everything was going to fall apart when he signed it away. Well, no one's noticed the difference in Biden for some reason signing it back in. So here we go. Let's go ahead and move on. Let's talk about China here for a little bit.
China, sure.
Some good old China. So there has been, I've got two here that are kind of similar ideas, but there's been some interesting cheats and just all kinds of things happening. But in China, one thing that I didn't expect to see is that Tencent, our favorite Chinese publisher,
Big
right,
fan, of course.
is now using facial recognition to stop children from gaming at night. So
What?
a third-party company is using your camera to scan your face, see if you're a child, and tell you you're not allowed to use a product that you own. Now, of course, you don't own anything in China. That's the beauty of it. You gotta love China. So they have the right to tell you what you can and can't do with the government's property.
Yeah.
You are the government's property over in China.
So listen to this. Tencent said its new technology would require players to confirm their identity via facial recognition algorithms in order to keep playing mobile games past 10 p.m. Wow. Yeah. Firebomb saying, I need this for my kids. Wow. The way it works is simple. If children under the age of 18 try to play a game past 10 p.m. or before 8 a.m., they'll have to pass a check that uses the phone's camera to verify their identity and age. Not sure how it's going to do their age. This extra measure is in place to stop children who are easily circumventing previous age-gating methods to enforce China's strict laws on gaming activity. Wow.
So PH brings up, he says, just emulate the front cam, and have an old man in the camera. I bet you what they're doing and why they're using a phone camera, they're probably having you facing it up here, but then having you rotate it around your face to get the 3D aspects of it so that you can't fake it with a picture.
It's not even that.
It's probably why.
It's not even that. I've got some experience in uploading pictures to services where they verify your identity. And the way that it works is they'll say, take a picture with a thumbs up. So you put a thumbs up and then take
the thumbs up.
Yeah, it's just so that, again, you can, now obviously there's always a way to fake it, but that is how identity works now on various apps. In the United States
to verify that you're a human.
Yeah, they'll take you three or four pictures doing a different thing. They show the picture of what they want you to do. You do that, and if you match it up, it gets
they'll give you so something like that. So whatever they're doing, that is now happening in China. So
great.
Some other things in China is so the GPU prices have been starting to drop because of a crypto crackdown that they've been doing.
There's also a huge crash in the crypto market.
Is it illegal to mine cryptocurrency some places or to do it? I just find it odd that, being that they're a socialist country, they would view your overconsumption of energy as a slight against the other citizens. So that could be a very negative thing in their mind. But here, where you pay for it, they wouldn't. So I see here that they're talking about they're doing a crackdown. And I'm just wondering, how are they doing a crackdown on this? I didn't realize it was illegal in China, to a level to do this. So, okay, here we go. Because this is recent. In recent weeks, the provinces of Inner Mongolia and Xinjiang banned cryptocurrency mining. So you can't even do it there anymore.
That'll get you.
So they're having the local power companies, local electric utilities, watch clients' power consumption and report anything larger than average. Dude, they'd be coming to my house, knocking on the door. My power bill is way higher than average.
And
I don't do any cryptocurrency.
5 people living in your house, 6 people living in your house.
Yeah, so, and I got computers and everything, fish tanks, everything on.
Lamps.
And I run my AC all the time in the summer.
Yeah.
And I don't care. That's why I have a job. And so
that's why I have a job, so I'm not sweating my balls off.
I want to sit comfortably in my house, and where it seems like I work from now, anyways. So I'm going to pay the extra to have AC all day.
I feel my AC absolutely. I keep my AC. My cat gets a little temperamental if it gets too warm, so I make sure to keep it nice and cool for her. You gotta
keep her happy.
Absolutely.
For him,
yeah.
is it?
No, it's a female. Please don't
misgender.
Incorrectly misgender my animal. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's a hate crime. Thanks.
And so so they banned it in certain places, which should be making a big difference because they've been seeing that the high end cards the prices have been dropping a little bit.
Well,
I think there's some other things kind of playing into that as well. But in China, they've noticed that it's gone from a 25 to 45% decline.
Well, if you want to get a little bit deeper into this, what also is happening is there is a severe contraction going on in the cryptocurrency market. Some of this being pushed on.
That's yeah, exactly.
By Elon Musk back a couple of, at this point, probably a month or two ago, with him announcing that
Dogecoin.
Well, not even that. Him announcing that Tesla will no longer allow you to purchase using Bitcoin, and the claim for that was that it's not environmentally friendly to produce and mine. And that was back a couple of months ago. Also, the Federal Reserve having moved up their potential interest rate hike is sending the U.S. bond market into a little bit of an upheaval. And obviously, PH is mentioning to the moon the Wall Street bet jokers and their pump and dump schemes. Just there's a lot of uncertainty in markets in general, and
which may allow us to finally get a good video card. Is that what you're telling me? Well,
yeah, yes, and for as many, people always want to say, oh, cryptocurrency is its own separate thing. It is, but having looked at, you look at, I'm looking at Bitcoin over the last month. It's down 8% over the last month. It's a significant amount. If the stock market was down 8% over the last month, the streets would be on fire. People would be jumping out of buildings in New York City. That is a serious issue. So lots of things going on with the cryptocurrency market. Yes, Bitcoin's only only 32,000. It was up at what, 55,000 not that long ago. So you're talking about a significant nosedive in that. So and that's not just Bitcoin. Ethereum is down, XRP is down, Bitcoin Cash is down, Litecoin is down. The whole crypto market as a whole is in a serious contraction. A lot of that having to do with some of the uncertainties in the U.S. market, the bond market, people willing and not willing to buy U.S. debt, the housing issues, lumber cost. There's a whole bunch of things that are all factoring into this. Which
and I think we're on our way into a crash. I think
I hope you're
our
wrong,
economy is.
I think you're right.
It's happened. It happens every certain type of presidents. And so it's starting to happen. It's starting to unfold. I feel like we're right there. We'll see.
Yeah, and the real question will be the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve changing moving forward their interest rate by, I think it was from 2023 to 2022. They've moved their calendar forward, so that could be an issue. PH, of course, noting that a lot of Bitcoin and stocks and just kind of trash stocks were being pumped by stimulus checks. Maybe this is more of a correction. Nevertheless, serious contractions going on in the cryptocurrency market, which, could make the GPU short. It make it not quite as lucrative to purchase a $3,000 GPU to mine Bitcoin or Ethereum or Litecash, whatever it may be. So,
Well, and so we'll see. And this time we'll be following, because I think this is going to be an ongoing thing that's not going to be settled anytime soon. We'll just keep following it.
Speaking of ongoing things that aren't going to be settled anytime soon, Chronicles of Elyria, Brian. There's an update. There's an update on this. Chronicles of Elyria backers sound the alarm on a class action lawsuit waiver in a new NDA. The backers are raising eyebrows this week over a new NDA that Soulbound Studios is asking them to sign before granting them access to test for the spin-off games Kingdoms of Elyria. That's because the NDA.
Forget that.
That's because the NDA has a clause that essentially waives players' rights to engage in a class action lawsuit. So it seems like maybe a little backdoor action going on here from the folks over at Soulbound to get some of their class action filers to essentially lock themselves legally out of a class action lawsuit. I'm not sure if it'll be retroactive. Seems a little shady to say the least. I've never known of a video game. It should have been in there
originally.
No, it shouldn't have been.
But I'm saying if he was going to put in there, if he's worried about class action, he should have put it in the very beginning.
I have signed numerous NDAs. I have signed dozens of NDAs. At no point has class action NDAs.
Yeah, I've not seen one in there.
With a class
They're not
action
for that type
lawsuit.
of thing.
No, it's about so that you don't go and leak something to the press. That's what an NDA
they're
does.
getting you to sign an official legal document and throwing that in there so that it counts. The
Now, I
problem
will
is
note,
these people aren't if they don't think about it and they just sign it, they are. I mean, how much are you going to get out of this class action, anyways? I'm not so worried about that, but it's a pretty slimy thing to do. Kind of shows you where they're at.
I will note that NDAs traditionally are not very enforceable in a court of law in general, just because they're very loose legal documents, and it has to do with the company wanting to enforce it.
Well, and part of it has to do with the states that where it's being where it's written is what the rules go by, and then you're dealing with people out of states, you're dealing with people out of country, and as you said, good luck enforcing that.
Yeah,
there's some things a class action lawsuit is one thing I guess you could enforce because it's probably being done in the United States and by a place that cares. But almost everything else you're doing in that NDA, there's very little that they can do.
Yeah. So there you go. That's that. Try to maybe skirt a little backdoor thing in here. Not going to work. And now that this article is out, makes them look even more shady than they already had, which was already incredibly shady to start. So, Chronicles of Elyria, ladies and gentlemen. No ending in sight.
Hey, I wanted to talk really quickly about something that kind of caught me off guard. And I play a game called Raid Shadow Legends. Now, a lot of
you play this?
I play this, yeah.
Oh, gee, what? I'm ready. I'm ready for the sponsorship thing to fly over. For this episode, sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends.
I know a lot of people sponsor this. We're not sponsored by this game. I'm just saying I do play this game. I guess if you could message me, I'll give you a friend thing, so I get some free stuff. But we're not sponsored by this. But one thing that I did see pop up on my stream that I thought was really weird, because I actually do enjoy this game. They're adding Ninja. Yes, the streamer, the blue-haired Ninja, into Raid Shadow Legends. Now, this is the first real person that I know of that they've ever added into this. And Ninja is just kind of an odd one, because I don't associate... There's really popular, like in the Raid world, there's one streamer called Hell Hades who does pretty much most of the YouTube videos. There's like one or two of them that make real YouTube videos. Ninja, I've never really, they must be looking at the pure numbers if he advertises it. But he's going to be a free character. They have a picture of him if you want to show that really quickly of what he looks like in game.
Looks like
the other characters. Yeah, the other characters look way cooler. The guys were like his skin.
All he has is blue hair. That's it.
But you look. There's okay. Scroll down. There's a better picture. You can kind of see. His armor.
Oh.
He's got some things beyond that look kind of cool. Like he's got a weird arm, but it's like they picked a body that really didn't matter. You could have anything, and then they added a human face onto it.
And blue hair.
He's got a bow. He's got one wing. You can actually go to the next picture because it shows a full body representation of what it looks like. But
I don't see it.
It's just odd.
There's only two pictures.
Well, that one's like you can on that one you had. It's like a playlist. It's like a
I see it. I'm sorry, freaking IG.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And you can see here they've got the various angles of the character. That's just, you could put any face in there; it wouldn't have really mattered.
His right arm is significantly bigger than his left. I wonder what's going on.
Oh yeah, well, he's an internet gamer. So. But yeah, it looks interesting. We'll see if he's a decent character to get. But they're adding it. This is the first time I've seen this where they did this kind of a promotion to add a streamer as a character in the game. Hopefully this doesn't become the trend, because one thing I like is their characters are actually pretty cool looking.
I bet you they paid him a literal fortune for this.
Just to have him in the game.
I am sure it is a copious amount of money. Like unbelievable. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we'll
see.
For
him. I'm sure he made a hell of a payday on this.
Oh yeah.
Game.
Hey, if you can do it, do it. But this is just, it's a weird partnership. Not one I expected to see. You could say who would be cool to have a character in here? Ninja was not on the list. Because I've never heard of Ninja in this game whatsoever.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we've got some other stuff here.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and let's jump to CD Projekt Red really quick. Now, one thing, there was a breach that happened. We talked a little bit about it. They did do an update. We have a link for that. And they pretty much go through what they've done to make it so this won't happen again. redesigning the core IT infrastructure, new next gen firewalls, all the stuff that when somebody gets hacked, they go out and buy and kind of fix everything that they've been slacking on. So they are making changes to that. But one thing that they did announce that I didn't know was going to happen is they're going to be releasing a new Witcher 3 DLC.
Oh,
and
sweet.
This DLC is going to be based on the Netflix show. Because they just released, I think today they released the new trailer for Witcher Season 2. And now they're having a DLC based on the Netflix show that they're putting in there. It's going to be free, for all current users and included in the next gen version of the game. They're preparing right now for the Xbox and the PlayStations. So this it's going to be pretty cool. They've got some new cover art, which says extra items inspired by the Netflix series. So it's pretty much going to be maybe swords, various things that they put in the game, in the show that weren't in the original game, perhaps. Swords, armor, some things for the horse that they've added onto the horse. One nice thing about this is they can kind of get away with breaking lore a little bit, because if they want to add something new, they add it in the show, and they're like, oh, now we can add it in the game too. It's there.
Well, it is it is technically lore. Once it's in the show is an yeah, exactly. The show is an adaptation of the game's lore. So anything that's added to the game anything that's added to the series is technically lore. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. This gives them a lot of creative direction for sure.
Oh yeah. And they can pretty much whatever they wanted to do in the show now, they can just roll it into the game and say, hey, it's all together. And then eventually people just get used to that concept. It's a great way to kind of get away with whatever you want. Because there's people, especially when a game that's been around a long time like this one has, you get people that just get so stuck on it. But that wasn't in the original game. That wasn't in the original game. And if you get this where I say, well, that doesn't matter. We're adding new things. We're adding them into the original game. Everybody's happy because people love free stuff. So that is happening. There was a tweet also that we linked to kind of talking about it, and has that screenshot in it. So if you're interested, go check it out. But I'm not sure. I don't know. Was there a date on this?
Not that I saw.
I didn't see. It says, I'm sure it'll be out probably maybe with the new season or something like that.
It just says more info,
but it'll be coming up
soon.
Soon.
So
yeah, I didn't see a date when I was going through it, but it should be out pretty soon with the new season of the show.
Sounds like a soon TM to me.
Yeah, well, hopefully this is something that they keep doing. I mean, that would be kind of nice, is if because Witcher 3 is a game that still is very, very fun to play. Yeah, but it's fun to play. I mean, it visually looks good. Visually still looks really good. They managed to update the graphics on it, and they've done things over time to kind of keep it up and going. So, and it's very moddable. So it's a good game. All right, we're getting close on time. Let's go ahead.
I've got.
And do you have one that you prefer?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about this Ubisoft story quickly. Ubisoft documents suggesting that toxic management has contributed to loss of talent and image. Massively overpowered attributes, saying this headline might read like water is wet, but it's part of Ubisoft's own universal registration document, a mandatory document for public companies that identifies risks. And you can go through and read through it. Yeah, I mean, this is, I assume most large companies have a very similar issue that they say, management is toxic. I think that is pretty common at any large company.
Yep.
So yes, I would agree with this. Water is wet in terms of that.
Isn't this all large? Once you get larger and larger as a company, it becomes very difficult to make decisions and to change direction and to do a lot of things without it taking a lot of time. I mean, that's one thing that's been an adjustment for me going into a company where I'm now working with very large company. I'm being contracted out to companies much larger than the one I work for, and getting used to I need an answer. I can't just go to that one person and get an answer right now, or the person's up enough chinks of the ladder to where you don't just message them and harass them a bunch about whatever question you have. I mean, there's just a lot of things that you get used to, and here when you have management that isn't good, isn't well tuned, isn't done well, you have this where just things kind of go off the rails and you have big delays and just nothing seems to start, works right. Everything gets more expensive and takes more time.
Yeah,
I think
and
that's what they're kind of hinting at is what's happening here.
Yeah, and I'm not disparaging the company I work for, but it's the second largest radio conglomerate in the United States, and it's a similar thing. Things take forever to get done because there are so many people involved. There's so many approvals. Yeah, and that's just what it is. Would I necessarily call that toxic? No. Is it frustrating coming from previously where I could pretty much do wherever I wanted and didn't have to really get approval? Yes, but I don't think I'd necessarily call it toxic. Is it frustrating? Sure. No. But that is one of there are pluses and benefits of working for a large company. Benefits, resources available, you can take time off and people can cover for you. That's a benefit of working at a large company. There are some disadvantages. The slowness of processes and things is part of it, and that's what this seems like more than anything else. Saying that key talent being lost, damaging the company's reputation and image. So it's now in a public document that they're required to file as a possible risk, but this is par for the course with any large company. So nothing to really see here, but nevertheless, kind of an interesting headline.
All right, so I have one thing that we'll see if this takes any more of the time, but I saw some new cheats coming out that are AI-assisted cheats. And I think this is kind of the future, especially since we've been talking about what's the one way that I've been kind of saying would be the best way to kind of get rid of cheats.
I know. What is Windows building in anti-cheat to the operating system?
Okay, yeah, that's one of them. That's one of them. And another way, I mean, so you got it to where they could build in more restrictions to the operating system. Yeah. That would make a big deal. But and then also cloud gaming. I was thinking cloud gaming because the code. I mean, there's those two things to where they restrict, but then also cloud gaming to where you don't have access to the process or anything. Well, they've already been working their way around that by doing machine learning on games to be able to provide the cheats without actually interacting with the process. All they need is the video stream of what you're playing. And then it figures out, there's a player here. So it uses AI to scan the video and then will put all those boxes and things that normally you're seeing on an application laid over your screen.
Can I show this video?
They show some videos in here. I don't know if you want to. Yeah. See here, it shows a window.
Potato quality. It's on Twitter. Yeah, I'm not sure why it looks like garbage, but
yeah, it definitely is. I don't know if there's another is there a better video on one of the pages for it? But so what you're seeing there is pretty much on a regular cheat that would be interacting with the process. You'd have an overlay that kind of puts boxes like you're seeing here, showing you where characters are, which way they're moving. Just different ways to display where someone is, even if they're behind a wall or behind an object.
So the way that this works is that the AI is watching the screen. When it detects the target, what it's doing is sending inputs to your controller to target it. So instead of it automatically targeting it itself, it's actually watching the screen, sending the commands to the controller, and it's working that way. So it's more of a screen scraping than it is necessarily an aimbot. It's essentially aim assist, but on steroids. If you've ever played a Call of Duty game or something similar, aim assist is where when you get close to a target, it kind of pulls you a little bit closer towards the center part of the target. It's common on consoles and in first-person shooters like Call of Duty. This is aim assist on steroids.
And you would think, well, how are we going to detect this? I think the best way that they'll be able to detect it, since they are not just giving you could have hackers or cheaters that only deal with the visuals. Maybe they're seeing a person they wouldn't have seen, right? That will be very difficult to detect because you can't really tell whether or not they saw it, or an AI told them to look there, right? Yeah. But what you can do is, since they're then causing it to where maybe if you mouse over a character, it automatically fires, or it nudges you to their kill box, things like that. That is where they'll probably be able to detect odd inputs. And this program will have to be pretty creative and how it quickly moves you to that point of the screen without it looking like a computer just went, but like, okay, you have to be here, get up there. That'll be interesting to see if they're able to detect that. Because there's another article here where Activision shut down an AI-assisted Call of Duty Warzone cheat. And they're talking about this is compatible with consoles, PC. You could do it on a mobile phone if you can get the video output. I mean, there's a bunch of different ways this could be used, and you wouldn't be limited by the operating system, the programming language, the security level of the operating system. There's a lot of interesting things that this brings up. And this cheat was being done, and I think they closed down like July 5th, because there was anti-cheat police. So it says first reported by the anti-cheat police department. They displayed a video that was being used to promote the cheat on YouTube and other places on July 5th. I said, using AI powered by machine learning, this cheat could work in theory for any game. So they're talking about something like this, and Activision is already trying to deal with it. So this is something that's going to be big. If it gets to the point, I mean, there are some extra steps to it. Because you could have a separate computer running some of these things, interacting with it, especially if you're on a console, you have something else that's doing all the work. How do you detect that? This is going to bring a whole new layer to trying to deal with cheats that I don't think most people were thinking about, a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Well, damn.
And it's an interesting concept.
It is, and it's a pretty good cheat to be able to make it work, because it is so hard to probably detect.
Yeah. I mean, you can't run an antivirus anti-cheat. You can't run an anti-cheat program on this and detect it in the same way. You have to look at the inputs. They have to monitor a lot of things that I don't think they were necessarily monitoring before. And it's going to suck. I just hope that they don't start restricting, I hope we don't get a lesser gaming experience because of them trying to combat this. But this is a whole new zone, and hopefully they don't start cranking down on it and making the games more buggy or harder to play or anything like that.
Crazy.
One thing I was going to mention, there were some articles on Windows 11. I don't know if you saw this. People have been installing, they installed Windows 11 on mobile phones, because I guess with the new driver set and everything, you're able to install Windows 11 straight onto like a Android regular phone, like a OnePlus phone. So people have been doing that, and they've actually run Crysis on the phone, which is kind of, it's kind of like that benchmark. But I saw a video of it showing a Windows 10 phone, them running Windows 10 on it, I think. But they were able to get Left 4 Dead, GTA 4, Rocket League, all these games they've been able to get to run on Windows 11 on a mobile device, without any major things being done. So that's been something. It makes you kind of wonder what they're getting ready to do with Windows 11, because it sounds like they're making one version that kind of just runs on everything. Because if they built in all the stuff to have it run on a phone, built into the base Windows 11. So,
I mean, make one version.
It's a different processor.
Yeah, make one version, have it run on everything. I mean, that's the new programming approach, is it not?
Because they used to release different ones. They'd be like, here's the Windows 10 for ARM, and here's the Windows. You'd have all these different releases that have different, like letter N, and all these different releases. It sounds like they're kind of getting it to where you have your Windows, and whatever you run on, it's going to be the same thing. We showed the interface that looks way different, looks more like a Mac. And I'm really interested to see what they're going to be doing with gaming on it as well, because it sounds like they're just really revamping Windows, making it more like getting closer to Linux and getting closer to Mac, and making it so it runs on all these different devices, just like the others do. I've kind of wondered if the core of it is becoming Linux, because that's something I think that they've hinted at, is getting some of the core of Windows to be Linux, because then it's more compatible with everything.
I feel like this is soon what we're going to see from Microsoft. 3 billion devices.
3 billion
run
devices
Windows 11.
run Windows 11.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm. It's kind of what I'm thinking. It'll eventually hit, if that's their goal at some point. Of course, referring to the old Java installer that said,
"Oh yeah,
3 billion every time you'd install Java, 3 billion devices, including toaster ovens and coffee makers, running Java." So good.
So,
times.
how much time have we got? We do have one video still left over from E3. I don't know if we want to just do that and talk about it for a minute, and then then we'll have covered almost all the show notes except for maybe that extra that was hanging out.
Yeah, let's do that. So
All right, and
what
this is
what
Elden
is
Ring.
this?
So this is one of the ones shown at E3 2021.
Okay.
This is made by Bandai Namco, or by Namco.
Oh yes,
pretty much,
Bandai Namco. Yeah. All right. All right. Here we go. Hang on. Maybe. Eventually.
Hopefully it's in English.
Oh, jeez. We saw.
George R. R. Martin. Look at that.
Wait, isn't
naked men.
Isn't that the guy that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of penises in that
Guided
show.
by grace, once lost. The Golden Order is broken to its core.
Foul tarnished. In search of the Elden Ring. Emboldened by the flame of ambition. Someone must extinguish thy flame.
They will fight, and they will die. In an unending curse. For how else is a champion or a lord to be born?
Well, a lowly tarnished, playing as a lord. I command thee now!
Brandish the Elden Ring. For all of us.
All right. So Elden Ring coming out the 1st
January
of
1st.
January 2022.
Yes.
Cool.
And this is something different. Have you seen where like writers that usually have nothing to do with video games being contracted to come in and write a video game? I mean, there used to be people that were kind of famous for doing the stories of video games that become famous in their own for that. But I'm not seeing where they've really brought an outside, maybe Stephen King, but there's not many big games.
But isn't
that
George R. R.
he's
Martin
done.
the one that's been unable to write a Game of Thrones book in like 13 years?
But it's like, well, they pretty much finished. He couldn't keep up with the show. The problem is he wrote like 3 books or whatever, 3 or 4 books. And then the show caught up to those books. And then they had to have the writer, the show writers finish the story because he took longer than that. He couldn't finish a book a year like they wanted, or whatever it is. So it makes sense. And I think he was kind of over it too. It's just not his writing style. I think he'd rather sit down, write a whole thing, and then be done with it. And I think for the show, they're wanting to have him continually writing content. And just didn't work for him. But it'll be interesting to see how good this is. I mean, he's a very good writer. He's got very interesting concepts. I mean, you can like him or not.
People hate him.
It'll be interesting to see how good this one really is. A lot of people hate him.
Yeah, because he's
a weird guy.
Well, people think he's late. I mean, he's old. He's an older guy, but people think he's lazy.
Oh yeah. Well, he wrote a lot of really good books.
But I'm saying Game of Thrones has exploded.
filthy.
Jonesy says that since Game of Thrones has been out, he's written 1 book since the show's been out.
I think, he doesn't need any more money. Like, I think
understand,
maybe
but the
he's
lore,
done-
the
maybe
people-
he's
you
just
talked
tired
about-
of it.
You talked about people that really invest in all the lore and everything. Those people are pissed because now there's a huge discrepancy in the lore of Game of Thrones.
Well,
and
especially
at this point,
the quality level of the writing would be different between, it's a show, but even the last season, it ended up very different than I think if he was actually the one writing the whole thing. Because he threw in curveballs that people didn't expect. He wrote things in ways. It's like they're trying to write to copy him. It's just not the same. When he comes up with something creative, it's different than when someone says, well, what creative thing would he think of? It's just different. Like he'll come up with something truly out of the box.
Yes,
I mean, not that I like the guy. I didn't even finish watching all of the Game of Thrones shows, but it's just, I think that I think he was a very good writer. I think that it just couldn't be pushed. I mean, he's coming up with very creative things. His books are very long. First of all, he's very wordy. And so you turn around and hand this book back, and it's like, it takes him a year or two at least, I would assume, to write a book because they're so big. So other than that, I think we're good. There's we had something that we could show off later, but I think we filled our time.
Where can people find it online, Brian? My nose has just opened up into
no worries.
Bloody mess. So go ahead and close us out if you would. I'll be with you momentarily.
All right, yeah. Hey, if you want to find me at Brian Aldridge on Gab or Parler, of course, my blog, biteoftech.com. That's with an I. If you want to go check out our website, infectionpodcast.com. And on the right-hand side there, click where it says join our server on Discord. Because if you do that, you can go and submit news topics to our news channel. You can play on our ARC server and communicate with all the people playing on there and just kind of hang out. A lot of interesting things happening there. We have our Steam group, which Steam's been broken today. Never did send the notification. Got to love that. But normally there would be a notification that pops up for our live show. We have our video links to the podcast. So if you want to watch on Twitch, YouTube, BitChute, or DLive, you can do that and follow along. And also we have our audio only forums. So if you want to just listen, maybe you're on the road, maybe you're working, we have plenty of links of ways you can do that through a web browser or through a device. If you want to watch our pre and post show, go ahead and check out the podcast extras. We have a link for that on the website. And then if you're going to be listening, go check out our show notes. So this will be episode 339. You can click on the particular episode. There's a video player. There's an audio player in there. There's links for all the videos, the articles, everything that we refer to during the show is included in the show notes for that episode. And then if you do want to follow along, that's very helpful. And you can even do it to where you're listening to it on your podcast app and then opening up YouTube or, open our website and opening up YouTube app and watch the videos as you listen. So other than that, you can support us through Amazon or we have Prime Gaming. We've got Humble Bundle. We've got all these different ways. If you go to infectionpodcast.com/support, you can go check that out. All different ways that you can support the show. And hopefully we'll be ending up going to some sort of a convention again soon when things are back to normal.
Yes, sir. That, by the way, we are going out to Las Vegas here in a few months at this point. It'll be in late September. If you're sorry, I'm getting text. A whole bunch of my phone's blowing up, and it's all, Jesus Christmas.
Well, hey, if you guys want, if you want to do that, make sure you message Nick or I if you're interested in coming to the meetup because we got an awesome location. We got where everybody's getting locked down, the flights, everything that we're going to do. So if you want to be a part of that, make sure you message one of us because we can add you to the Discord chat group that we're sharing all the information of what we're doing and kind of communicating about everything there. So if you are interested, make sure you hit us up. We'll get you added to that group. And we've already had, we've had one person who added themselves yesterday to the list. So this is going to be great. We got a really big house. I mean, it's going to be pretty cool.
Yes. Yes.
Was it like 12 beds or something? I mean, it's something ridiculous.
All I know is since Brian and I cultivated this trip, I am sleeping in a damn bed. I don't care. I don't care what anybody else does. I know that I am sleeping in a bed, and
this is like the first time where
Brian paid for the Airbnb, so he and his wife definitely are sleeping in a bed as well. Everybody else can go pound sand. I don't particularly care. All I know is that I am going to be sleeping comfortable. Well, I don't even know if I'll make it to a bed, but I'll be sleeping comfortably somewhere. Hopefully,
well, make sure you land on a mattress. How about that?
Hey, I appreciate you. All right.
Hey, they even have they have like an Xbox there. They've got 100 megabit internet. They put all this in there.
Are we going to do a little like infection weekend? Oh, by the way, if our friend
need to do a live stream. We could do a live stream and it's got Wi-Fi. It'll have everything to do a perfectly high quality video.
A pool game. Like literal pool. not like swimming.
Oh yeah,
pool,
because you
but
got pool. Yeah,
Yeah, pool table.
yeah, we could do something like that.
Yeah. All right.
I thought you were talking about swimming. I was like,
No, I'm not. Yeah, we'll be hot tub streamers in Vegas.
hey, we've been trying to figure out how to work that into our stream.
Hello. Here we go. I'm live streaming on my
down.
infection podcast.
down.
Let me get my marker out so I can write your name on my arm. All right, let's get out of here. Brian, thank you so much as always. We'll see you next week. Brian, appreciate you as always. Have a great week.
Yeah, thank you.
In Minecraft. All right.
I
thank you for joining us, everybody, for another episode of Infection, the Survival Podcast. My name is Nick Craig. You can find me on various social media platforms. You can find all those at nickcraig.net. If you want to check out my radio show antics, you can do so each and every morning at nickcraig.com. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.